Once upon a time in the small village of Nara, nestled between flourishing hills and quiet temples, lived a young man named Haruto. Haruto was known for his gentle demeanor and tireless dedication to aiding his fellow villagers. His kindness was legendary, and his heart pure, which had earned him the respect and affection of everyone around him. Haruto's days were filled with acts of compassion. He helped farmers sow their fields, assisted merchants in carrying their goods, and provided comfort to those who were sick or grieving. Despite his selflessness, there was a growing concern among his family and friends that Haruto was neglecting his own needs in his quest to help others. One fateful day, as the sun rose over the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, Haruto set out on his usual rounds. He first visited the home of an elderly couple, helping them with their morning chores. As he left their home, he heard a commotion near the village square. Rushing to the scene, he found a distressed woman, Ayumi, whose young daughter had gone missing. Without hesitation, Haruto joined the search. He combed through the dense bamboo forests and climbed steep hills, tirelessly calling out the girl's name. After hours of searching, he found the child hiding in a grove, scared but unharmed. Ayumi, overjoyed, thanked Haruto profusely, and word of his heroic deed spread quickly through the village. As the day wore on, Haruto encountered a merchant named Taro, who had lost a precious item, a family heirloom, while traveling through the forest. Determined to help, Haruto spent the afternoon searching for the item. He found it wedged between rocks in a stream and returned it to Taro, who offered him a substantial reward. Haruto, however, refused, stating that helping others was reward enough for him. By evening, Haruto was exhausted. His body ached and his mind was clouded with fatigue, but his heart was full. As he walked home, he was stopped by a group of villagers. They told him about a widow, Hana, who needed help repairing her roof before the coming storm. Despite his exhaustion, Haruto couldn't say no. He spent the night working on Hana's roof, finishing just as the first raindrops began to fall. The next morning, Haruto woke with a fever. His body, pushed beyond its limits, demanded rest. But as he lay in bed, he heard the cries of a child outside. A young boy had fallen and hurt himself. Ignoring his own pain, Haruto got up and tended to the boy's wounds despite his worsening condition. As the days went by, Haruto's health continued to decline. His fever persisted, and he became increasingly weak. Despite his condition, the villagers kept coming to him for help, each with their own needs and problems. Haruto, unable to refuse, continued to assist them even as his strength waned. One afternoon, while Haruto was repairing a broken cart for a villager named Kenji, he noticed Kenji lounging nearby, drinking sake and chatting with friends. Despite Haruto's obvious fatigue, Kenji made no move to assist him, or even to express genuine gratitude. Another villager, Yumi, frequently asked Haruto to fetch water from the well, claiming her back was too sore, yet Haruto often saw her lifting heavy baskets with ease when she thought no one was watching. As these instances accumulated, the strain on Haruto's body and spirit grew. One evening, after helping a neighbor fix a broken fence, Haruto collapsed on the road. The villagers, alarmed, rushed him to his home, where his parents took him in, their faces etched with worry. Haruto's father, a wise man with years of experience, sat by his bedside, his eyes filled with concern. "Haruto," his father began, "we are proud of your kindness and the way you care for others, but you must understand that neglecting your own health and well-being helps no one." His mother added, "If you continue to exhaust yourself, you will soon be unable to help anyone, including yourself. Kindness is a virtue, but it must be balanced with self-care and wisdom." Haruto, feverish and weak, nodded slowly. He knew they were right. His relentless drive to help others had left him vulnerable and weakened. He realized that he needed to find a balance between aiding others and caring for himself. That night, as Haruto lay in bed, he remembered an old parable his grandmother used to tell him. Once there was a man who tried to fill every cup in the village from his own well. He gave and gave until one day his well ran dry. The villagers, whose cups were full, did not think to help him refill his well, and he was left with nothing. The parable struck a chord with Haruto. He understood now that if he did not take care of his own well-being, he would soon have nothing left to give. Determined to change, Haruto vowed to find a balance between helping others and protecting his own health. Little did Haruto know that his realization marked the beginning of a transformative journey. His decision to seek balance in his life led him to the doorstep of wisdom, embodied by a well-respected Zen master who lived in a secluded temple high in the mountains. The villagers spoke in hushed tones of Master Ryota, a sage whose insights into the nature of compassion and self-awareness were unparalleled. Determined to find answers, Haruto set out early one morning, the path to the temple winding through dense forests and rocky inclines. His fever had subsided, but he was still weak. Each step was a testament to his resolve. As he climbed higher, the air grew cooler and the sounds of the village faded away, replaced by the rustling leaves and distant bird calls. After several hours, Haruto reached the temple, its peaceful presence a stark contrast to the lively village below. The temple was simple, yet majestic, its wooden beams weathered by time and elements. Haruto approached the entrance and was greeted by a young acolyte who guided him to Master Ryota. Master Ryota, a man of serene countenance and penetrating eyes, sat in a tranquil garden surrounded by blooming cherry blossoms. Haruto bowed deeply, feeling both awe and humility in the presence of the wise master. "Welcome, Haruto," Master Ryota said, his voice calm and inviting. "I have heard of your kindness and your recent struggles. What brings you to my temple?" Haruto took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. "Master Ryota, I have spent my life helping others, but recently I have realized that my efforts are draining me. I have neglected my own well-being, and now I seek guidance on how to balance my compassion for others with care for myself." Master Ryota nodded thoughtfully. "Your intentions are noble, Haruto, but like a candle that burns too brightly, you risk extinguishing yourself. Sit with me, and let us explore this together." They sat beneath the cherry blossom trees, the gentle breeze carrying petals through the air. Master Ryota began with a story. Once there was a farmer named Akio who lived in a fertile valley. Akio was known for his generosity, always sharing his harvest with his neighbors. He worked tirelessly, often neglecting his own fields to help others with theirs. One year, a great drought struck the valley. Akio's fields, having been neglected, yielded no crop and he had nothing to share. His neighbors, whose fields had flourished thanks to Akio's help, turned to him for aid, but he had none to give. Akio realized then that by neglecting his own needs, he had not only harmed himself, but also those who depended on him. Haruto listened intently, the story resonating deeply within him. "Master, how can I ensure that my well-being is not sacrificed in my efforts to help others?" Master Ryota smiled gently. "The answer lies in understanding the nature of true compassion. True compassion is not just about giving, it is also about knowing when to step back. It is about setting boundaries that allow you to preserve your own strength and spirit. By doing so, you ensure that you can continue to be a source of support for others." Haruto nodded, absorbing the wisdom. "But, Master, how do I set these boundaries without feeling selfish or guilty?" "Haruto," Master Ryota replied, "consider the bamboo. It stands tall and strong because it is flexible. It bends with the wind, but does not break. In the same way, you must learn to bend with the needs of others without breaking under their weight. Setting boundaries is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of self-preservation. It ensures that your compassion remains a sustainable force." They sat in silence for a moment, the wisdom of Master Ryota sinking in. Haruto felt a sense of clarity he had never experienced before. "Thank you, Master," Haruto said, bowing deeply. "I understand now that to truly help others, I must also care for myself. I will strive to be like the bamboo, strong yet flexible." Master Ryota placed a reassuring hand on Haruto's shoulder. "Your journey is just beginning, Haruto. Remember that true strength comes from within. Nurture your spirit, and you will find the balance you seek." As Haruto made his way back down the mountain, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. He knew the path ahead would be challenging, but with the wisdom of Master Ryota, he was ready to embrace it. Haruto's heart was light, his mind clear, and for the first time he felt the harmony between giving to others and caring for himself. Haruto returned to his village with a sense of purpose and a newfound wisdom imparted by Master Ryota. The lessons of setting boundaries and nurturing his own well-being resonated deeply within him. However, the journey of understanding the true nature of compassion was far from over. One morning, as Haruto tended to his garden, he found himself reflecting on the villagers who had taken advantage of his kindness. Kenji, who lounged while Haruto repaired his cart, and Yumi, who pretended to be weak, came to mind. He realized that there were many more like them, and the thought troubled him. Determined to seek further guidance, Haruto decided to visit Master Ryota once more. Upon arriving at the temple, Haruto found Master Ryota meditating under a cherry blossom tree. The master welcomed him with a warm smile and invited him to sit. "Master Ryota," Haruto began, "your teachings have opened my eyes to the importance of self-care and boundaries. However, I have seen how some people take advantage of my help, and I fear there are many more who might do the same. I want to understand how helping others can also harm me." Master Ryota nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Haruto, helping others is indeed a beautiful act, but it carries with it hidden dangers that many fail to recognize. Let us explore these shadows together." Haruto leaned in, eager to absorb the wisdom. The first danger, one you may have already discovered, is the burden of expectations. When you help others frequently, they begin to expect your assistance. These expectations can become a heavy burden, leading to stress and exhaustion. Over time, the more you give, the more they expect, and soon you find yourself overwhelmed by their demands. Haruto nodded, recalling how the villagers seemed to come to him for every little thing. The second danger, Master Ryota leaned forward to draw a line in the sand, is the erosion of boundaries. Without clear boundaries, you risk losing your sense of self. When you constantly put others' needs before your own, you neglect your own well-being, which can lead to physical and emotional burnout. Haruto's brows furrowed in understanding. "Master, how can I set these boundaries without appearing selfish?" Master Ryota smiled gently. "By communicating your limits with kindness and firmness, you teach others to respect your needs." The third danger revolves around dependency issues. Excessive help can foster dependency. When people rely too much on your assistance, they may become incapable of solving their own problems, hindering their growth and self-reliance. Constantly absorbing others' problems can lead to emotional exhaustion, which is the fourth danger of helping others. When you take on too much, you deplete your emotional reserves, leaving little room for your own needs and self-care. Haruto felt a pang of recognition, remembering the fatigue that had overtaken him. Master Ryota continued with the fifth danger, loss of personal identity. When you define yourself solely through your acts of service, you risk losing touch with your own passions and interests. Your identity becomes tied to your role as a helper, overshadowing your true self. Master Ryota's voice softened. "Remember, Haruto, you are more than just a helper." Helping others financially, without considering your own needs, can lead to financial strain, which is the sixth danger of helping others. This can occur quicker than you think, as it can go unnoticed for a long time. It is important to help within your means and ensure your own financial stability first. Haruto nodded thoughtfully, realizing the importance of maintaining his own resources. Master Ryota continued with the seventh danger. Unreciprocated efforts can breed resentment. When your help is taken for granted or not appreciated, it can lead to feelings of bitterness, which harm your relationships and your peace of mind. Haruto frowned, recalling times he felt unappreciated. The eighth danger, Master Ryota continued, points out the consequence of unrealistic expectations. By always being available to help, you set unrealistic expectations for yourself and others. This can lead to disappointment and frustration when you are unable to meet those expectations. Haruto interrupted, "But Master, how can I manage these expectations?" "Set clear and realistic limits from the beginning," Master Ryota advised. "People will learn to respect your availability. Constant exposure to others' suffering can lead to compassion fatigue, which is the 9th danger. This state of emotional exhaustion diminishes your ability to empathize and support others effectively. On top of that, Master Ryota continues, believing you can solve everyone's problems can create an illusion of control. This is a very common problem, and therefore the 10th danger of helping others. This can lead to frustration when you realize that you cannot control others' actions or outcomes. Haruto nodded again, absorbing the lesson. The 11th danger is the depletion of spiritual energy. Neglecting your own spiritual practice to help others can leave you feeling spiritually depleted. It is essential to nurture your own spiritual well-being to maintain a balanced life. Master Ryota's eyes held a compassionate gaze. Do not neglect your inner sanctuary. Equating your self-worth with your ability to help others can be detrimental. That's why this is the final danger of helping others. When you are unable to help, you may feel inadequate or worthless. True self-worth comes from within, not from external validation. Haruto sighed, a sense of clarity washing over him. Haruto listened intently, absorbing the master's words. The realization that his well-intentioned actions could have such far-reaching negative consequences was sobering. "Master," Haruto said quietly, "I see now how my actions, though driven by compassion, can also lead to harm. How can I navigate this path without losing myself?" Master Ryota smiled gently. "Haruto, the key is balance. Sometimes the best way to help others is by taking care of yourself. Compassion is not just about giving, it is also about understanding your limits and respecting them. By setting boundaries and taking care of yourself, you ensure that your compassion remains a sustainable force." Haruto nodded, feeling a deep sense of clarity. "Thank you, Master. I will strive to balance my desire to help others with the need to care for myself." As Haruto made his way back to the village, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. He understood that true compassion required wisdom and balance. Haruto was ready to face the challenges ahead, armed with the knowledge that to help others effectively, he must also nurture his own well-being. The wisdom imparted by Master Ryota had given Haruto a clear understanding of the importance of balance in his acts of compassion. He was determined to apply these lessons in his daily life and interactions with the villagers. The first test of Haruto's newfound understanding came soon after his return. Early one morning, Kenji, the villager who had taken advantage of Haruto's help, approached him once again. "Haruto, my cart is broken again," Kenji said, a hint of expectation in his voice. "Could you help me fix it?" Haruto paused, remembering Master Ryota's teachings. He took a deep breath and replied, "Kenji, I can show you how to repair the cart, but you must do the work yourself. It's important that you learn how to handle these tasks." Kenji frowned, but seeing the determination in Haruto's eyes, he reluctantly agreed. Haruto guided him through the repair process, offering advice and support without taking over the task. By the end of the day, Kenji had repaired the cart himself, and Haruto felt a sense of accomplishment in having empowered him rather than simply doing the work for him. The next challenge came from Yumi, who often feigned weakness to get Haruto's help. One afternoon, she approached him, complaining of a sore back and asking him to fetch water from the well. Haruto, recalling the times he had seen her lifting heavy baskets, gently but firmly replied, "Yumi, I have seen you handle heavier tasks. I believe you can manage this. If you truly need assistance, perhaps someone else can help you today. I need to rest and take care of my own needs." Yumi looked surprised and a bit taken aback, but she nodded and left without further complaint. Haruto felt a sense of relief and empowerment, knowing he had set a necessary boundary. One evening, a severe storm hit the village. The wind howled and rain poured down in torrents. Many villagers' homes were damaged, and they turned to Haruto for help. Haruto, mindful of his own limitations, organized a group effort instead of trying to fix everything himself. "Let us work together," Haruto said to the gathered villagers. "Each of us can contribute to repairing the damage. By working as a community, we can achieve more and ensure everyone is safe." Under Haruto's guidance, the villagers worked together, repairing roofs, securing loose shutters, and clearing debris. Haruto assisted where he could, but did not overextend himself. He ensured there was a balance between helping others and taking care of his own well-being. As days turned into weeks, the villagers began to notice the changes in Haruto. They saw how he set boundaries, empowered others, and managed his time and energy wisely. There was a newfound respect for him, not just as a kind-hearted helper, but as a wise and balanced individual. One day, Ayumi, the woman whose daughter Haruto had found, approached him. "Haruto," she said, "I have noticed how you have changed. You still help us, but now there is a strength and wisdom in how you do it. You have taught us to rely on ourselves and each other more. Thank you." Haruto smiled warmly. "Thank you, Ayumi. I have learned that true compassion includes taking care of oneself. By doing so, we can help others more effectively and sustainably." Haruto often reflected on the lessons from Master Ryota and the parables that had guided him. He knew there would be more challenges ahead, but he felt prepared to face them with the wisdom he had gained. The village of Nara thrived as a community, each member contributing and supporting one another, inspired by Haruto's example. Haruto's newfound wisdom and balanced approach had brought harmony to the village of Nara. However, Haruto knew that true growth required constant reflection and inner work. He decided to embark on a journey of self-discovery, seeking to understand himself better and deepen his spiritual practice. Haruto heard stories of a wise hermit named Daiki, who lived in the mountains beyond the village. Daiki was known for his deep spiritual insights and solitary lifestyle. Intrigued and hoping to learn more, Haruto decided to visit Daiki. One crisp morning, Haruto set out on the path that led to Daiki's dwelling. The journey was arduous, with steep climbs and narrow trails. As Haruto walked, he reflected on his experiences and the lessons he had learned. The higher he climbed, the clearer his mind became. After a long trek, Haruto reached a small, humble hut nestled among the rocks. The air was thin and the silence was profound. Haruto approached the hut and respectfully called out, "Master Daiki, I seek your wisdom." The door creaked open, and an elderly man with a long white beard and kind eyes emerged. "Welcome, Haruto," Daiki said, his voice calm and resonant. "I have been expecting you." Daiki invited Haruto to sit by a small fire inside the hut. They sat in silence for a while, the only sound being the crackling of the fire. Finally, Daiki spoke. "Haruto, you have come far in your journey, but true wisdom requires deep inner reflection. What is it that you seek to understand?" Haruto thought for a moment. "Master Daiki, I have learned to balance my compassion with self-care, but I still feel there is more to understand about myself. I want to deepen my spiritual practice and find inner peace." Daiki nodded. Inner peace comes from understanding the self. Let us begin with a simple question. Who are you, Haruto? Haruto was taken aback by the simplicity of the question. He had always defined himself by his actions and his role in the village. "I am Haruto, a helper and a friend to the villagers," he replied. Daiki smiled gently. "That is what you do, but it is not who you are. Close your eyes, Haruto. Breathe deeply and look within. Who are you beyond your actions and roles?" Haruto closed his eyes and focused on his breath. He delved into his thoughts, feelings, and memories. He realized that beneath his actions and roles was a core self that experienced love, fear, joy, and sorrow. He was a being of consciousness, connected to the world around him yet distinct in his individuality. After a while, Haruto opened his eyes, a new understanding dawning on him. "I am a being of consciousness and experience, connected to all things yet unique in my own essence." Daiki nodded approvingly. "Exactly, Haruto. Knowing who you are at your core is the first step to inner peace. Your actions and roles are important, but they do not define your true self." To further illustrate his point, Daiki shared a parable with Haruto. Once there was a clear, still lake high in the mountains. The lake was so calm that it perfectly reflected the sky, the trees, and the mountains around it. One day, a traveler came to the lake and looked into it. He saw his own reflection, and thought it was another person. He tried to interact with the reflection, but it remained silent and unmoving. Frustrated, the traveler threw a stone into the lake, creating ripples that distorted the reflection. Only then did he realize that the reflection was just an illusion, and the true self was the one looking into the lake. Haruto pondered the parable. The reflection is like the roles and actions we identify with, but the true self is the observer, the consciousness behind the actions. Exactly, Daiki affirmed. When you understand this, you can navigate life's challenges with greater clarity and peace. You will know that your worth is not defined by what you do, but by who you are. Haruto spent several days with Daiki, meditating, reflecting, and deepening his understanding of himself. The time spent in solitude and contemplation brought him a sense of inner peace he had never known before. When he returned to the village, Haruto carried with him a quiet strength and a deep sense of self-awareness. The villagers noticed the change in him. He was still kind and compassionate, but there was a new depth to his presence, a tranquility that inspired those around him. Haruto's journey to the mountains had been transformative. He had learned that true wisdom and peace came from within, from understanding the self beyond actions and roles. This inner journey had equipped him with the strength to continue helping others without losing himself.